In today's brief video, I'm going to be reacting to a TikTok posted by a young lady who is struggling with her sobriety and recovery process and finding herself facing multiple challenges. Challenges that I know for certain I can certainly relate to, and that I think a lot of our viewers on this channel can as well. I'm going to interact with this video as if I were an addiction recovery coach helping her through this momentary challenge. Let's jump right into the video.
I literally had my birthday, it was November 29th, and I turned 24, and I have, absolutely nothing to show for it. Nothing. I spent my whole life so far doing drugs, and then getting sober, and then having an eating disorder, and then recovering from an eating disorder, and I have literally nothing. Except I got a rare fucking sleep disorder after I got sober. What the fuck is that?
There's a few things here that I'm seeing right off the bat. The first is regret and looking back. And this is a very common place that a lot of people in recovery find themselves in, which is looking back on their past decisions. And I always tell people you don't want to spend time looking back and getting sucked into the regret, because you might miss the opportunity that is in front of you. When I see someone who's 24 years old and they say they've spent their whole life struggling with addiction, struggling with eating disorders, struggling with substance use, I'm quick to remind that person, you're 24 years old. You still have so much life ahead of you. For many people, their professional life, their adult life doesn't even begin until somewhere between the ages of 25 to 30. And usually it's right around that time that you're just finding your footing. So first of all, I would say you've spent a small portion of your life struggling with addiction. And I understand how that can feel like an eternity. I really, really do. But remember, this was a small portion of your life, because now you're sober. So you have a clean slate. As far as having nothing goes, you have something. You have sobriety. You have a set of skills that got you to the point where you are at today, which is free of an eating disorder, free of a substance abuse disorder. That required grit. That required determination. That required commitment. That required consistency. That required effort. I could go on and on and on about all of the positive traits that I'm sure this young woman has developed to get to where she is today in recovery from an eating disorder and a substance use disorder. So I would say you don't have nothing in this regard. You have a lot of traits that you're going to be able to apply throughout the remainder of the rest of your life. And this is a huge thing. The second thing that she talked about in this portion of the video was that she's developed an eating disorder in the process of her recovery and developed a rare sleep disorder. And I would say two things on this. The first thing would be, and I tell people this all the time, when you first get sober, count on something going wrong. Something going wrong might be you stubbed your toe. Something going wrong might be someone hits your car in the parking lot. Something going wrong might be a health crisis pops up. A family health crisis pops up. You suffer the loss of a loved one, of a pet, of a family member. Who knows? It might be something minor. It might be something major. But this is life. This is being alive. We're going to have highs. We're going to have lows. And challenges are part of life. If we're living, we're facing challenges. And I would say just to anyone watching this, expect when you go into recovery and sobriety that you're going to have these high points and these low points. Because then when you run into a problem, when you run into a low point, you expected it. and it's not going to throw you off guard. For the sleep disorder too, I'd be cautious in this case to say that sobriety caused the sleep disorder. And this isn't to beat this person up or anything, but it's just to say, listen, no, it probably was some of those past choices. It was probably the substance use that has resulted in a sleep disorder that you have at this time, at this moment. And I always encourage people, if they are struggling with health things, don't get one doctor's opinion. Don't get two doctors' opinions. Talk to 4, 5, 10 different doctors. Do your own research, because I'd be worried that whoever provided this diagnosis, one, isn't considering the implications on this person's mental health being early in the recovery and sobriety process, and two, that's maybe just 1, 2, or 3 opinions. There is a whole host of options out there when it comes to managing things. And I promise, I know when I got sober, osteoporosis, low testosterone, nausea, vomiting, stomach problems. I had a host of health conditions that I had to face when I became sober due to my past history of substance use. So I would say this is something that a lot of people will eventually experience. Let's keep watching.
And within 1 month, I lost literally everything that was gonna help me. I got fired because they didn't like me. And that job, that was gonna, not only did it give me some sort of purpose, but that job was gonna get me out of here. But I don't have that anymore, so I can't get out of it. Get out of here.
So here we're talking about the loss of a job, and this is something that I've come across with many clients when we're working with them, especially in the early sobriety and recovery process. And by early, I mean anywhere in the first few years of quitting a drug. I think what happens is, here we are, we got sober, we got clean, we go into this job, and maybe that job wasn't for us. Maybe it wasn't a good fit for us. Maybe we weren't a good fit for it. And what I tell people is, failure is to be expected. And for most people who have struggled with addiction recovery and getting sober, there's a good chance that you've been here before. You've been in a place where you were trying to quit and you failed. You've been in a place where you've been trying to quit and you failed. And then eventually, just like this young lady, the day comes where you do quit, where you start to succeed. But remember, it took how many times to get there? How many failures? How many attempts to get there? So when someone loses a job early on, especially if it's one of their first careers, which at the age of 24, you are early on into your professional life. That hasn't even begun yet. It's expected that you're not going to succeed right off the bat. And listen, you've had other circumstances in life where you failed and you pulled through. You succeeded, because here you are today, sober, free of the eating disorder, or it's well managed, at least at this point, I would assume, based on other things I've seen on this young lady's account. So I would say it's yes, of course you lost the job. It's okay. That's going to be one of many job attempts. And trust me, any jobs that I've lost or that I've chosen to walk away from in the past was a great decision, because I wouldn't be here today talking and running an addiction recovery coaching company if those other jobs had worked out. And thank God they didn't. So you never know what opportunity lies ahead of you. I know it seems bad in the moment, but it's not. And the other thing I would say to that too is, in her video description, she said she is in a safe environment. It's not a threatening environment, but it sounds like that was her escape out of the house, out of her town, out of her environment. Remember, there's more than one way out. And this goes to investing all of your purpose, all of your efforts into one thing when it comes to sobriety. And you're going to see she mentions another thing too in upcoming portions of this clip. But I always tell people, people, you need to diversify your energy and your efforts when it comes to sobriety, because then if the job fails, well, you still have family, you still have community, you still have a relationship, you still have the hobby. Think of it as building an armor, right? Different chain links in an armor. That job was one of those links. That job was the first layer of armor. We want to build up multiple layers to our sobriety, so when one thing collapses or when one thing goes wrong, which it will, it inevitably will, we have other things to fall back on and other things to lean into. We never want to invest all of our sobriety into a singular job or a singular individual, a singular person, a singular relationship, a singular hobby or effort. Take exercise. A lot of people invest a lot of their sobriety into exercise. What happens when you tear your ACL or tear your rotator cuff in your shoulder and you can't work out? The last thing we want is for your sobriety process to crumble. And I think this is something that this lady's now dealing with at the moment. So let's continue.
Like, I'm 24 and I have nothing and no one. I'm like completely fucking alone. Oh.
She says she has nothing and no one, and in a moment I'm going to talk a little bit about what she does have. She has a very large influence on social media, something like 270,000 followers or subscribers. I'm going to get to that in a minute though. This goes to the next thing, saying I have no one. It's very important in recovery to find a community and have a place where you can experience a sense of community. Now, this can be a recovery-based community like a 12-step program or other program like we have here in our Addiction Mindset Accountability community. This can be a community of friends, a community of family. This can be a community of people with similar interests. This can come from an online community. For me, I'm fortunate. I do have a family community. I have a friendship community. I have the community of the Addiction Mindset Accountability group and people. I also have a community of business coaches and business people that I've now invested myself into. So I think community, and this has been proven in research, is one of the key foundational things to help keep people sober. And that sense of community can come from anywhere or anything or any level of interest, but that is super important. So my advice to this individual would be going forward, let's work on that. What things are you interested in? What groups of people share similar interests? And what people can we get you around that can build you up? It sounds like her job may have been that. And that sucks because you experience the loss that you experience when you quit a drug. Then you experience the loss of a job. And now we're going to hear her talk about another loss that she recently experienced in her early sobriety and recovery process, which, mind you, I always say, things are going to go wrong. That's the way sobriety goes. Things are going to come up and things are going to go wrong. And that addicted voice in your brain is going to challenge you and try and make it so you see the glass is half empty versus half full. And I'm very concerned that that's exactly what's going on in this person's mindset. And
I use social media, to help others and share my story because it's something I have. It makes me feel like I'm not fucking alone, and I know I hope people also feel that way. But my Instagram is gone now, and I know that might seem so superficial to so many fucking people, but to me, like, that gave me purpose for so long. That made me be able to share my story and make people feel less alone for years.
This is a huge loss that she actually experienced. As someone who works in social media, the amount of effort and energy that you put into it to build it up, it's like building a business and losing a business. But the platform TikTok on which she posted this video, she's accumulated about 270,000 people who do aspire and look up to her and look to her for her story and for help. And it's incredible the influence that she's had. And what I see here is, unfortunately, someone who's missing out on an opportunity that's right at their fingertips. With that accumulation of followers, subscribers, this young lady has a huge opportunity for monetization when it comes to sponsored posts, sponsored ads, when it comes to creating a career for herself on social media, perhaps within the addiction recovery and sobriety community. And I don't even think she realizes the opportunity that she's sitting on top of, because that addicted voice has her so stuck in the past regrets, in the missed opportunities, in all of the failures. And this is exactly what I often see when it comes to addiction recovery. We spend so much time in the past, we start to miss what's right in front of us. And that's exactly where addiction wants us to be. It wants us to get stuck in the past and not being able to see the future potential that we have. Even though she's sitting on a host of, on TikTok, if you got over, I think it's 1,000 subscribers, you're in the top, I think, 3% of creators on there. So, and I'm sure that's just one of many things that make this young woman a talented individual who has a clear path to success in front of them. So all I would end this by saying is, one, she's doing a great job. Having a moment like this is completely normal. It is. I wish she had more people to talk to, though. I wish she got involved in more communities. I wish she was working with someone who could give some guidance on what to do with what she has, what to do going forward, how to not get stuck going backwards. And maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But I see such an incredible person sitting here in this video, and I really do wish her all the best of luck. And I want to thank her for making this video on TikTok, because I believe there's countless people who can probably relate to some of the things that she's struggling with. If you guys want to learn more, check out the pinned comment, the video description, or the link in my profile, where you can learn about our one-on-one coaching, our Addiction Mindset Accountability Group, and we have free handouts on quitting substances as well. And if you don't want to do that, follow me into the next video where I actually coach a young girl live on quitting vaping, which it's nicotine addiction, but our conversation is about addiction as a whole. I'll hope to see you guys in one of those spots.